Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I am your host of Unbreakable Mompreneurs. And today I have Neena Perez, and she's a transformational coach, an author, a motivational speaker, and she's happy and passionate about helping women step into their own and honestly in the entrepreneurial journey, which is exactly what this podcast is about. And that's why I wanted to have you on. So Neena, why don't you introduce yourself a little more than I did?
Well, hi, I have adult children now, thank goodness. But I had four of a blended family. I've been in the coaching space for some time. I think I got my spiritual leadership coaching in like 2002 or 2003. And then I went on to write my book, Hit Me With Your Best Shot, which is my autobiography. And that was really about my life. And my life had a lot of tumultuous things, yeah, from abuse to domestic violence to a whole bunch of other things. And I realized that I had a lot of work to do. It was a very cathartic experience writing it. But I also realized how many fears I had in my life, how many things were holding me back, how I was like, I have this attitude where I really do level up in my careers, but I was still afraid to do anything myself. And so it took me some time, and I went back and got a whole bunch of certifications for life coaching and neurolinguistic programming and all that kind of stuff. And the more I grew and expanded, the more I wanted to help others grow and expand. And that's kind of how Wisdom to Wealth was birthed, which is my program now.
I love that. And it's like you and I are on this parallel journey because when I wrote my book, it's true. I had to take about 6 months off because there was so much trauma that, I think I've had a pretty good life, but there are issues that we all have. And because of that, it really did come to the surface, and mine's called flipping the iceberg. So literally come to the surface is kind of what happened. And so it's interesting that sometimes when you write the book, you get more out of it, just like teaching. I think sometimes you get more out of it than sometimes the listeners because they're not ready yet. And you were. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. It's powerful, isn't it? To put your story on paper. Yeah,
it is. Absolutely. And then to share it with the rest of the world is even more vulnerable. But I think if you can help anybody, then that's why we do it. So that's great. So tell me, with that, like, how did you find yourself into realizing, I guess, what am I trying to say here? It's tough. It's tough going through abusive relationships. It's tough getting out of that. And so how are you able to overcome some of those things to be able to have the strength, the resilience, the confidence to start a business?
I think it was one step at a time, and literally one step at a time, one moment at a time. And, I started a business several years ago, which was my like touch into entrepreneurship. And it was during when we went homeless. So my family and I went homeless. We lost our home. We lost our cars in that big recession of 2008. All of our contracts closed and we just had no money. And so while we were homeless, right before that, I had decided to go back to school to become a chef because it was my lifelong dream. Right? I was an adult, but it was something I always wanted to do. And so I started a kids cooking business called the Kitty Kitchen. And I was teaching children how to cook. And so it actually just started out there, right? That entrepreneurial road started at a difficult time, but it was probably the best thing I ever did because it helped show me how resilient I was. It also helped to show me how small thinking I was. And the reason I say that is because being homeless and stuff and trying to run a business was very challenging. And I remember that my clients, the ones that I wanted to be my clients, were very affluent clients and to do these big cooking parties. But at the time, it was 2009. Nobody's really spending money. So my limited thinking thought. And so I decided to do a panel where I invited all of these very affluent women that were living around the area. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do a panel and see what they think of my business. And so I presented the whole business concept and they were like, wow, you're giving all of that. And I'm like, yeah, they're like, oh my gosh, I want that for my kid, but I would never hire you. And I'm like, oh, well, I love that feedback. Why would you not hire me? I have all the qualifications. They're like, yeah, but your prices are so cheap that what I would think is that if I hire you, what I'm going to get is a cheap experience.
Mm.
That changed my entire paradigm, right? Because I think we always undervalue ourselves.
Mm.
We don't realize that all of the gifts we had and all of the experiences and all of the bad and the trauma, all of it can be utilized to catapult us into the next level of our lives.
Mhm.
And also, I feel like, and you probably feel the same way, like our stories don't even belong to us anymore.
Yeah.
They now belong to the next person we're going to help, right? So that's how I started in my entrepreneurship journey. And then from there, you just, every day is a one step at a time thing. When you start to build up and become the next level of you, whatever that is. Yeah.
I love that. So I have to ask you, when you presented it, how much were you charging? And then did that change and did you change your pricing?
Oh, yeah, yeah. When I started, I was only charging $350 for 12 kids, right? Which was nothing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a lot. I was homeless, right? So now I'm going from a poverty mindset, right? And I ended up charging 1,200 after that and was fully booked. It's crazy to me. Like
Yeah.
that really flipped my poverty mentality.
Mhm.
I didn't realize all I was worth. And I knew that I had a lot of knowledge and skill sets in me. I knew that. I
Mhm.
just didn't know what it was worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because a couple years ago, I hired two coaches that don't recommend, but they talk about high ticket sales, right? And they
Mhm.
talk about this person. I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want people to figure out who it was, but
I
they were
totally am with you on
yeah,
that boat. I understand.
they were only making about $30,000 that year or for like their whole time. And then all of a sudden now they go into charging a coaching program that was $25,000 to $100,000 for a year.
Ooh.
And talk about a mind shift, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so this person, they don't associate themselves, which I don't agree with, but with anybody who's making less than X amount of money because
Mm.
they now have put themselves in this box where this is how they are going to live. This is what their lifestyle is. This is how they're going to associate with people. And anybody who isn't like that, they don't want to waste their time.
Mm. Mm.
So again, that's not my philosophy.
Mine either.
Completely disagree with that, but
Yeah.
because of that, this person has now elevated themselves into a world where they're doing very well, at least on the surface. And it's interesting. The business that they were coaching has died, obviously. Reputation
Yeah.
does proceed eventually, but it really is interesting to see because they're still very successful. They're still doing well. They built themselves a name, but how poverty mentality really can overtake people and get them stuck.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's the part that having to make sure that you value yourself
Hmm.
is the biggest hurdle I think people have to overcome first.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And listening to what you're saying too about working with people, I think you also have to take the chance and invest in yourself that way,
Yeah.
right? Because I've had bad coaching programs as well, and things that were promised that were never delivered, right? We do that with everything in life. I think services, where you go to a restaurant, you order a dish, it didn't come out good, that kind of stuff, right? So I take the best things I can take from it,
Yeah.
and I move on. But investing in yourself is, to me, a big key to success too, because that will help you to see your blind spots, help you maybe to see something you didn't see before, or even help you to create something that you don't want others to experience.
Mhm.
Right? Because when I had the poor coaching experience in my life, I decided I will never do that to another
Yeah,
human, you know?
exactly.
So
Mhm.
it helps you be better, I think.
Yeah, nope, I
Yeah.
agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree. So, switching gears, let's talk about kind of the trauma and how you've been able
Mm.
to overcome, like, what are some of the things that you did to be able to overcome that poverty mentality and I'm not saying that you had a victim mentality, but a lot of our listeners
I
probably
did.
do, where,
Yeah, I did. Hmm.
woe is me, everything's happening to me. So how
Hmm.
did you break free from that?
There was a few things. One of them, my biggest thing, and I always lean on this, is my faith. I
Mhm.
have a lot of faith in God, and that helped me a lot actually, because there were times where it was so dark. I didn't see a light, you know?
Mm.
So praying to me was really huge. Also some tools that I've learned, right? Tools that I've learned with, my neuro linguistic programming, master certifications and all that kind of stuff. And so, one of the things I do, even today, I did this, right? Like when I wake up and I'll feel like a sense of fear for some reason, whether it's, oh, I don't have enough money for that, or I don't want to do that, or I don't know if I can do this or this new venture. What I do is I write myself, I get a blank piece of paper and I write fear on top, which to me means face and eliminate all restrictions, right? And so then I write what's restricting me. So I write my fear down. What is my fear? So like let's say if it's finances or somebody's listening or illness or something like that. I'll write like, okay, fear of with me, it's always a fear of poverty or going homeless because that happened to me. So I have trauma from that, right? So I'll write those things down. Fear of going homeless, fear of, losing everything, fear, fear, fear. I write my fears and I face them. Then on the other side of that piece of paper, I write the truth, right? Okay, so what is the truth? I'm not going homeless. What's that fear coming from? And how do I overcome it? Okay, so if I'm lacking, let's say finances for something I need, instead of thinking about it like I used to, like, let me go get that, 15-hour a day job, I now think of how do I create a service that will pay for what it is I need, as opposed to the hourly wage of giving my life up every hour.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And now I'm not saying there's anything wrong with jobs either, because I actually think people should never leave their stable work environments until they've replaced their income.
Yeah.
Right. And I also feel like a job can be a interest-free loan, something that you work, you get paid, and then you take that money and you can put it into whatever it is you want, investments, business, whatever, right? Real estate, whatever you want. So it was really those type of tools, like looking at things for real and not like hiding behind a wall and saying, again, I used to do that when we were like really, really poor and had no money. I didn't want to look at my bank account. No way I'm looking at my bank account. But ignoring it didn't help the problem.
Yeah.
So I just decided to put my boots on and do it, and just do it afraid anyway. That's how I did it.
See, and I love that because I have a child. Well, he's a son. Okay. I have a couple of them, so we won't talk, but money right now is really tight for him.
Yeah.
And so like, okay, I've been in this world for like 5 years where I'm showing all the kids, these are all the things that you can do. And here's what, like, the sky is the limit. So much so that one son won't even get a job because he's like, but mom, I can be this entrepreneur. I'm like, until you do, let's pay the bills, right? Because you have to execute. But I have another son that he does the grind every single day and he does it very well, but he works darn hard for $12 an hour. I mean, okay, now it's more than that. He just got a raise, pretty good, double that. But my point is, he's still struggling financially. And so I'm like, okay, how about we do this? And so like, I'm holding this client appreciation event. And so I'm looking for Santas. So I start looking around and surprisingly, there's only like 3 Santas for hire right now. I don't know what's going on. Normally there's more, but they're charging like $150, $200 for
wow.
okay. He looks like a Santa. I love my son, but he does. And so I'm like, I go to Amazon and I go, okay, Santa costume. And it's like $89 on Amazon, right? So I said, okay, son, I have this business venture for you. I will buy the suit. I'm going to hire you as my Santa. That's the even part of it. And now you're going to go advertise and you get to be Santa this year because there's only 3
That's so
Santas
smart.
right now. And you can charge $100 to $200 an hour and make some good money this year.
Yeah. And you can actually go to families' homes who have little kids and show up as Santa and bring, that's a smart idea.
I know.
Is he going to do it though? That's the question. Oh, he is.
I'm buying the suit.
Smart.
And he doesn't have a choice. And I will set up and I will schedule you out, but and help him learn how to do this. But
I love it.
The point is there's always a way if you have a
Yeah.
And so that's the part that sometimes he has to get out of his own head. Like we all have issues like that. And so, I mean, I honestly even offered it to my ex-husband because he refuses to get a job as well. And he needs money. But again, it's just a very interesting mentality versus
it is
give, like you're so used to being taking from other people versus giving to other people. And I really think that serving others, even though they're paying him, he gets to go see how it changes people as well. So
Yeah, and I think people, whoever is listening, also just look at what your talents are too, because
yeah.
you can really utilize those talents. Like when I was struggling,
Hmm.
I made, and I still make them because people still request them. I make white chocolate pumpkin cheesecakes,
Hmm.
right? And so I sell them for like $25 because everybody wants them. Okay, no problem. I pay for the ingredients.
Hmm.
But back then, that was a necessity, and I think I sold like three or 400 in a holiday season,
Yeah.
right? I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it was because I took a talent. I'm a chef by trade. I took a talent that I have. So when I like, I'm like, what do I do? Oh, I know. I can go and cook for families for a couple of weeks and get
Mhm.
their food ready. I can go
Yeah.
and help children learn how to cook. I mean, you can really utilize your skill sets for
Yeah.
sure.
You
Yeah.
can. I love that. I'll hire you to write my menu.
No problem.
Not joking about that either.
That's
All
awesome.
right. So, tell us about your three-step process that you talk about in your program.
Yeah, so I do inner healing,
Hmm.
transcending, and co-creation. So inner healing is really what it sounds like. It's inner healing, right? We really dig into the inner child work, trauma, things like that, things that are really, yeah, like, so holding you back. So we talk about a lot of fears and stuff. Then we start to transcend those things. What are your core values? Where do you want to be from here to there? What are your goals? What are we setting up here? So I have a whole online academy where I have all of these videos, workbooks, the whole thing. And I'm with people every other week for 90 minutes. And they also have access to me within in between that for one-on-ones. So it's a really full on business. And then while we're doing that kind of inner work stuff, we're building your coaching business, right? Because most of the women who come to me, they have a lot of wisdom and skill sets and knowledge and all that's in them. And they want to create a coaching business, but they don't know where to go and what to do. So I help them with that. And we build out the framework. So when I do that, my team comes in and does all their funnel building, automation, marketing, the whole thing. So it's literally from concept to launch. So I help them from concept and all that inner work, blah, blah, blah stuff. And then we also launch them out so that they can get clients. So the reason I did that is to your point in the beginning, you pay a lot of money and you get little pieces, but you don't get the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting here like, yeah, but what about this? And they're like, I don't do that part. Well,
Yeah.
I decided since I've been doing this since 2002 and I've learned a lot of things and I've learned about systems and marketing and all that, why not build the whole wheel, to help people? And I stay with them for a long time. And I usually stay with them even past their contract with me because I want to make sure they succeed. And a
Mhm.
lot of us are left out here alone. We're figuring it all out by ourselves. That's
That is,
hard.
it is hard. And I think that you are servicing a niche that is so important because that is my biggest, like, I think I went through a midlife crisis because I hired so many coaches over the last 3 years and spent so much money. So I have
Yeah,
all
me
this
as
wisdom in
well.
my head. I have all this information. And I totally agree with you because that's the one thing that I went to all of my coaches and I said, you have a great program. I go, but you're missing this one thing. And they're like, well, what is it? And I said, execution and implementation. And
Yeah,
they're like, exactly what you said. No, we don't do
yeah,
that. And I'm
yeah,
like, so what's the point? Because I hired you because you said you would hold my hand every step of the way. And
right.
that's like, let's get to that point where we're
Right.
having clients and they're
Right.
like,
Now can I execute? I need to find some people, right?
yeah.
And that's what happened to me too.
Mhm.
And you know what? Another thing that I've decided is that I stay with these women past that time, right? And the reason I do is because I had a coach I paid like I think it was like 20 grand to or whatever. The
Mhm.
day of the end of the year, the day of, that was it. She
Yeah.
didn't answer any more emails. She didn't answer any. I was surprised. I thought we at least had built a rapport
Yeah.
throughout our year. You know what I mean? Like we had a rapport, a friendship, like I thought.
Mhm.
And the day after I said, hey, can you just look at this really quick? Because I want to see if this will work. Nothing. Never again.
S-
I was like, wow.
Try a coach for 5 years.
Oh,
And
wow. Yeah, I never
yeah.
had one for 5. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
I've
went,
had clients for 3 years. They've been with me for 3 years. They won't leave. But yeah, but I've never had one for 5. Wow.
no, I did. And I went to an event last summer and it was almost like she didn't even know. Like it was the weirdest experience. And I'm
It's
like,
weird.
I'm done. That you're not a friend like I thought. I just
Yeah.
feel used now. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it hurts, doesn't it? It hurt me anyway. I was hurt. And then I realized I said, you know what? She's running her business the way she wants to run her business. So I just forgave her and let it go.
Yeah.
But I won't do that to my women. I won't do that. I won't. I mean, I just literally had a conversation with a woman who's a friend of mine. Her name is Linda, and I coached her like 3, 4 years ago. You know,
Mhm.
and she's off to running. Her business is off and running. And she just emailed me the other day, hey, do you have a minute just to discuss? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Here's my link. Let's go. Let's do it. She's like, oh, you're amazing. I'm like, why would I not do that though? I'm freaking human first.
Yeah, I have
Damn.
several clients,
You
like real estate
know?
clients that, I mean, I've been a realtor for almost 10 years now, and I have clients that call me all the time and ask me, ask, Charisse, I need a favor. I need this or that. And I will spend hours taking care of them. I don't
Yeah,
make
yeah.
it. They haven't referred me to anybody in a long, long time. And so it's just, I thought about that. I'm like, most of these people would never do that, or they would charge
Right.
something. But for
Yeah.
me, it's all about service first, and like within limits and reason. But I do think that you have to make a decision when you're starting your business. How are you going to serve
Exactly.
your clients?
Exactly.
And what are your values? And if it's
Right.
all the day you stop paying me is the day we stop talking. Like I'm holding so many events in the next couple of weeks for clients that, again, I sold them a house 8 years ago, and
Right. Right.
but we still have a relationship. And so anyway,
And you need to, right? For a service-based, I think for a service-based business, you need to,
yeah.
because they're going to need you again. They're going to want to probably buy a house again, or at least they'll think of you when they go to, sell or buy another or a friend,
Mhm.
And I think we should be like, for instance, the coach I was referring to, yeah, I got an email from you about joining another. No,
No.
no. you know like you wouldn't even answer a question the day after, and you're still sending me emails. No, it's not how that works you know
That's too bad. It
yeah.
leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and you don't want that. You're like, okay, let's
No.
move on from that. I
Yeah,
love
yeah, yeah.
you.
That's why
Love
that's
you while
why
I
I
was
forgive.
there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's why I forgave her, and I was like, okay, you run your business your way, but thank you, because that helped me to run my business my way. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Yeah.
Nope, I agree. All right. So if our listeners wanted to find you, how would
Yeah.
they learn more?
It's so easy. I'm everywhere, but my name is Neena Perez, but it's spelled Neena Perez. And you can go on my website. You can find me on I'm omnipresent, all social media platforms. I have my podcast, Straight Talk, No Sugar Added.
Mhm.
I'd like to have you on if you'd ever want to come
I
on. I'd
love
love to
that.
talk to you about what you
Absolutely.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's doing really well. I have like 150,000 downloads, and it's like really growing fast. And so I'd love to have you. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that after this. But yeah, so you can find me anywhere, seriously. So yeah, I'll be glad to speak with anybody, and for free, because I like to strategize with people. I mainly work with women,
Right.
but I like to strategize with them. So at least when they walk away, whether they work with me or not is irrelevant. I'm here to serve as many people as I can.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't talk before I let you go. We didn't talk at
Yeah.
all about being a mom, which
Okay.
I know that you have adult children.
Yeah.
So I want you to think about yourself, and this is a question I ask everyone, that you're sitting on a park bench and this newly pregnant, 9-month pregnant woman comes and sits down next to you, and you have a conversation. What is one piece of unsolicited advice you would give her, knowing now what you know about the whole
Mm,
gamut from birth
yeah.
to adult children, which are not fun at times? Um,
Yeah.
what is one piece of advice you would give her?
Gosh, there's so many, right? Because now
Right.
that my kids are in their 30s. So I think the one thing I did with my family that truly, truly helped me with communication with my kids is I created something called free time. And so free time was during dinner. Well, first of all, it was a mandatory that we all sat together for dinner.
Mhm.
So when we sat together for dinner, I would give the kids free time, meaning anything they discussed, anything they did, anything they discussed, anything they shouldn't have done but did anyway,
Mhm.
all of that stuff would be with no consequences. But they would have to listen to a second opinion of what they decided, and they would have to think of an alternative of what they could have done as opposed to what they did. And so it was very hard, but my kids till this day call me almost daily to talk to me about things going on in their heart and minds. And
Mhm.
this started when they were little, like 4 years old, 6 years old. And they tell me sometimes a little too much TMI, like too much, but it was very powerful because when my kid said, "Oh, mom, I smoked weed today," everything dropped to my stomach. Like, what? I was about to kill him. But I'm like, okay, what could you have done differently though? How did that make you feel? What could you have done differently? Don't you think you should wait till you're a little older? So we were able to discuss it as opposed to me flipping out, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would be one of the biggest pieces of advice. Give them space to mess up and to be able to trust you enough with that information when they do.
That's amazing, because a lot of kids do not have that conversation or have that relationship with their parents. So I think that that's amazing.
It's a great way to trust you. They didn't trust it at first. Like they were telling me surface things like, "Oh yeah, I broke the glass or whatever." But after like about maybe 2 months or so, they realized, hey, wait, mom isn't flipping, or she's not getting angry. She's really talking to us. And then it became a thing. And now I mean, it's so beautiful that my other son just called me last night. "Oh, this girl, she drives me crazy,"
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's what I would give as advice. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. That's
Thank you.
unique. I haven't had somebody say that, which I love that you've actually done it as well, and it works.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It works. Sometimes too much TMI when they're older, but it works.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's really good. Well, Neena, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, it was. And Unbreakable Moms, we talked about a lot of different things today. But one thing that I want you to take away from this, if you didn't take away anything else, is the belief that you can do things, that you can do hard things and you can overcome hard things. And as we talked about a little bit, consistency really does. Eventually it will take off and you'll get traction. So just take that step and reach out to Neena if you need help getting started. So thank you so much. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.